So hello everyone, this is your Krishna from Women Today YouTube channel. So in this channel we have been interviewing many women entrepreneurs and working women across different cities in India. We are traveling to different cities and we are doing offline interviews, and we are also conducting online interviews across different cities in India and also across different countries in the world. So today right now we are in Pune, and right in front of us is Nandita Sarfare ma'am. She is the principal of Tiny Tots Preschool, and also she is a conscious parenting mentor. So I welcome you, Nandita Sarfare ma'am, to this Women Today YouTube channel. So please kindly introduce about yourself to the audience who are watching this interview right now, ma'am.
So thank you, Krishnan, for coming all the way and conducting this interview. So I am Nandita Sarfare. I am principal of Tiny Tots Preschool. This school was started by my mother 40 years ago, and now it's been 10 years that I'm looking after the school. So along with being the principal of the school, I am also a parenting mentor. So my journey as a parenting mentor started when I became a mother, and that's when I realized what are the different challenges a mother faces while raising a small young child. So when I started understanding the child's brain, and when I started studying more about it, I really understood why a child is having a tantrum, why are the meltdowns there, and when I understood all these things, it made me understand, realize that every mother must be struggling with similar problems. And that's when I decided that I can help others, so I should help others. So that's how my journey into parenting started.
So that's a very wonderful introduction from you, ma'am. Of course, even before we were talking about this Tiny Tots preschool that you're running in Pune, that it was founded like before 40 years back by your mother. That's a great thing, because that's something like even I have not been in this world before 40 years. That's like 4 decades back, and right now you are just continuing it. That's a great thing. And also at the same time, you're also running a very different department of making sure that each and every parent are having a good parenting life, and making sure that they understand the child's psychology, because you're working with the kid's brain. You're able to understand why the tantrums are going on, because as a kid, tantrums is the very first thing which they do, because that's when we understand that they are kids. They have to do some kind of tantrums, otherwise it will be like they're going into adult life. That's totally different. So yeah, that's a wonderful introduction from you, ma'am. So tell us, ma'am, what is the real meaning behind conscious parenting? Because since you are a conscious parenting mentor, so people who are new to this concept, they should know the reason and the meaning behind this conscious parenting. And also tell us, ma'am, what is the core of this conscious parenting for toddlers, ma'am?
So, conscious parenting is basically understanding the child's behavior and understanding this fact that behavior is some type of communication that the child is trying to do. Because at this age, from 2 to 5 years old, the child is having limited vocabulary. So, especially when kids are just learning to speak. So, at that time, they are not having lot of words to express how they are feeling. So as the caregivers or as parents, it is our responsibility to try to name certain feelings, and then the child will understand, okay, I am having this kind of emotion, so this emotion is called so and so. For example, if the child is feeling sad, so as a child, the child doesn't know that the child is feeling sad. The child is just going to cry, cry and cry. But as a parent, maybe you can ask the child, okay, are you feeling sad because your toy broke? Then the child will understand that, okay, this kind of feeling is called that it is being sad. So next time maybe the child will be able to express themselves better. So that is what conscious parenting is, where you help the child to name certain feelings and it helps them to regulate in that way.
So it's basically, as we spoke, it's about the emotions. So you're able to kind of understand the what's happening behind the kids' thoughts in the brain, and you're making sure that okay, this is what happens, and you're verifying it with your kid, and you're making them analyze and understand that okay, this is the thing that you are feeling right now. Are you feeling sad or happy or some kind of things which they can't figure it out? Because once they're able to figure what they're actually feeling, they'll be able to communicate with the parents. The communication is the best thing which we can do as a conscious parenting mentor. So also tell us, ma'am, how do you help parents raise emotionally strong toddlers? Because in today's world, every parent need emotionally strong toddlers, because there is a lot of things happening in the society. So tell us about it, ma'am.
So, a very good question. So, emotional strength begins with emotional safety. So when a child understands that all feelings are valid, all feelings can be expressed, that is where the child starts feeling secure. For example, many times we say to the boys that boys don't cry, you don't cry like a girl. When we do this, when we say something like this, we are conditioning the child, okay, as a boy I'm not supposed to cry. And when they grow up into becoming an adult, somewhere they suppress this emotion. Even if they are feeling sad, they want to cry, but they will not cry, and that emotions come out in some other form. So that is what emotional safety teaches us, that you help the child to label the emotions, to make them understand that all emotions are acceptable. So for that you need to have the home environment which is safe, where they can express themselves freely, and they shouldn't feel the need of lying. For example, if something has happened at the school and the child is coming at home and feeling scared to express what has happened because maybe my mother or father might shout, so that is not an emotional safe environment for the child. So that is what we want to avoid. You have such a relationship with your child where the child is very easily, comfortably wanting to share with you. That is emotional safety about.
I think that's how you can raise emotionally strong toddlers, because yes, of course, there are certain sayings like boys don't cry like girls. The thing is that it's not boys or girls, it's not about any gender, it's about we are human beings. Of course, we are emotional beings. Of course, ultimately we are emotional, and if you are not able to express our emotions, consider if there is any glass of water, if you overfill the water in the glass, then of course ultimately it's going to overflow. In the same way, if you are controlling it, then some or the other the glass will burst. If you are putting too much pressure on it, even the glass will burst with the help of water. So in the same way, consider we are just normal human beings. So what happens if we just keep on just suppressing our emotions? Ultimately it will burst something out and it will be leading to danger. That's not what we need in our homes. So the best way we can actually raise emotional toddlers is to let them who they are, let them bring out the emotions. May they, it can be sad, or it can be happiness or depression or even anger or something like that. Only if they are able to speak things out, then we will be able to understand who they are, how they are actually having the feelings. Once we are able to analyze the wavelength, then we will be able to figure out, okay, this we can do for this to arrive at this kind of solution. Yes. So I think that's the best way by which we can make emotionally strong toddlers in the society, ma'am. So also tell us, ma'am, when kids throw tantrums, what's actually happening in their minds?
So let's first understand what exactly happens from birth. So when a child is born, there are neurons in the brain which are forming, and these start building connections once the child starts experiencing some things. So for example, somebody lifts up the child, so there's a sense of touch, so automatically there are different neurons which are connecting, okay, this is called as touch. So similarly, different experiences when the child is having from 0 to 2 years, the connections are built and the brain is storing all these connections. So by the time the child is 3 years old, there are almost 3 billion neurons per second that are bursting, so waiting for connection to be formed. So in this time, so you can imagine 3 billion neurons per second. So how much rapidly the brain is wanting to develop, the brain is developing. And in this time, because the child is having lack of vocabulary, so it comes out as a tantrum. So when a toy is broken, for us maybe it's a very small thing, that just a toy, but for the child it is everything. And when that toy is broken, the child is not having vocabulary, okay, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry right now. So suddenly the child is going to maybe just tap their feet or try to hit somebody. So that is how, because they don't know how am I supposed to regulate myself. And as a child, it is our responsibility to help them regulate. So the child borrows the adult's nervous system. So in that moment, if the parent is also shouting at the child, why are you crying? Is it even worth crying over this thing? If the parent is loud, the child is not able to understand what is happening. And in that moment, when we look at it from the brain's perspective. So what happens is, imagine this is our brain. So this is our brain. So as per doctors Daniel Siegel, he says that this part is the prefrontal cortex of the brain, this prefrontal cortex, which is not developed until, which doesn't start developing until the child is 5 years old. So as a toddler, this part is absolutely shut, and their emotional brain is highly active in this moment. So when the child is throwing a meltdown, what is exactly happening is their emotional brain is hijacking their logical brain. So in that moment, anything you tell to the child that, okay, why are you doing this, stop crying, nothing is going to enter into that logical brain. So because of that, the child's emotional brain is going to be more expanded. So you will see that when you are shouting, the child is crying even more. So how do you calm down when the child is throwing a tantrum? So it is necessary first is you label the emotions. Okay, I understand, I see that your toy is broken, so can we fix it together? I know you're feeling sad. So that way you pacify their emotions slowly, and then the emotional brain will go inside. And there are different techniques which are normally used, maybe distraction technique or different CBT methods which are there. Through those methods, automatically when the logical brain again comes into the place, the tantrum starts reducing. So that's what is happening inside the child's brain when they are throwing a tantrum. And 2 to 4 years is the peak time where normally these tantrums are at its peak. And during that time, it is necessary as a parent that you handle these emotions properly, because you as an adult are responsible for not giving more traumas to your child. So as a loving parent, when you handle these tantrums in a proper way, you will see that the tantrums reduce drastically.
So yeah, ma'am, we are speaking about why kids throw tantrums. And of course, in the beginning, we were talking about the development of neurons. Of course, in 1 second, if billions of neurons is going to burst, then that's like kind of mind blowing. And of course, they have to express the kind of words that they are feeling. Actually, you said that, yeah, they can't figure out the vocabulary. The vocabulary, if they are able to figure it out, then they can express, okay, this is what I am feeling right now. Because of not knowing what to say, they just look at the parents, they look at the emotions. If they're kind of feeling like angry, and if they're shouting, they same way they're just replicating it. That it's like a reflection. And of course, speaking of development of neurons, the neurons are making connections with each other, and they're looking to learn something. That's where even you can see a lot of achievements by small kids. I can see, because I can see one achievement where a kid, I think it's like less than 2 to 3 years, that kid can name more than 100 countries' flag correctly. So yeah, that's like, okay, people tell that when you are very small, you can learn much, because that's where you are able to have a brain is developing, and these neurons are developing. And of course, speaking about a great scientist, what's the scientist name?
Einstein.
No. I'm just asking that scientist who was telling about that emotional kind of reasoning, that prefrontal cortex, na? Right. That logical thinking, yes, that was overshadowed by that emotional kind of thing. What's that scientist name?
Dr. Daniel Siegel.
Okay, so that's right actually, because most of our time, consider you can just neglect kids, consider us, even adults, when we are too much emotional, when with angry, we will be just forgetting about the logical part. We just keep on emotionally arguing with each other instead of focusing on what we should really talk. Once we start talking to each other logically, then everything falls into place, and we can arrive at the right solution. So in the same way, when kids throw tantrums, instead of again arguing with them, we can simply ask like, okay, how can I help you with what you're going through? Okay, can we give this a solution, or what can we try this out? I think that's the best way we can actually help calmly bring down the tantrums of children. That's a great thing, ma'am. And also coming to boundaries. There is a lot of things happening in the society. Of course, we should set boundaries in children. Tell us how parents can set boundaries in children with due love and respect, ma'am.
So, establishing connection and setting boundaries is very important, because when there are certain boundaries, there are rules, regulations, or a atmosphere at home which the child knows what is predictable, it helps the child to know what's coming, and automatically the child is mentally prepared. So, what are boundaries exactly? For example, now non negotiable boundaries, like once you wake up, you have to brush your teeth, and after brushing your teeth, you have to take your bath. So, these are non negotiables which has to be done. So, when the child knows, okay, once I wake up, I have to do these things, there's no way out of it. So, that is what boundaries is. So, that helps the child to be mentally prepared. Okay, after my bath, I can have my breakfast. So, the child knows what is coming. So it's not a surprise every day. It's not a random thing. Okay, after I wake up, I'm going to maybe watch mobile for some time, and then maybe I'll have my breakfast. So if inconsistent boundaries are there, then there is chaos, and that leads to tantrums, because if the child is misbehaving, the parent is naturally going to shout at the child. And if you're not going to shout at the child, if you're going to try some kind of parenting technique and trying to be very calm and passively talking to the child, that is not going to work, because then child knows that I can manipulate my parent. And that is what is happening in and that is what is happening in majority of the houses right now. The term gentle parenting is very the term gentle parenting is very wrongly taken. It doesn't mean that you have to be gentle with your child. So, gentle parenting is all about setting the right boundaries and making your child understand them, in and you being an leader for your child. So, your child is looking up to you. As a leader, you cannot be that. So as a leader, you cannot be one day you're telling something else, and the other day you're telling something else. For example, now you are telling that no chocolates at home, but somebody at the house is giving chocolate to the child, and you're like, okay, it's okay, you can eat the child, and and you're like, it's okay, you can eat the chocolate. So what is happening? What message is the child getting? Yesterday my mother was saying no for the chocolate, and today she is saying yes for the chocolate. Okay, so maybe I can eat the chocolate. But if you're strict with your boundaries, if you are clear with your boundaries, no chocolate means no chocolate. You can keep special days for it. Maybe Sundays is for junk food. So the child is clear, okay, weekdays I'm not going to get any junk food, so Sunday I can have some junk food. So it is very essential that you set boundaries in order to have predictable routines, and that is when the child thrives. That is when their brain grows even in a better manner.
So it's better to stick to the boundaries. Once if they had made a mind like, okay, you should not eat chocolate, then it should be like the same each and every day, irrespective of the kind of circumstances happening. I understand. So also at the same time, in today's world, each and every parent should be like a friend with their own kids, children. So tell us, ma'am, how can parents foster secure attachment with their toddlers and their kids, ma'am?
So, for establishing secure attachment, that is building up the connection, it is done through small, small gestures. You don't need to do something very grand for it. So, there's a 10-10-10 rule. So, the first part is when the child wakes up, 10 minutes spend time with your child, undistracted. There should be no cell phones at all. It's only you and your child, where you're interacting with the child, where you're giving them talking pep talks, like some affirmations, 5 minutes of affirmations, 5 minutes of cuddling and hugging, and just saying that how much you love them. After that, another 10 minutes is just before they're sleeping in the night. So during that 10 minutes, reflect upon how the day was, and what was good about the day. You can ask the child, and that helps to really build that connection. And as a working parent, it is very difficult for mothers or fathers to sit like 1 hour entirely with the child and spend that. But even if you do this in a split hours, like 10-10-10 minutes, it really helps the child. And the other 10 minutes is when the child's when the child comes home after school, because the child has already had a lot of things which he has done in the school hours, it is the child is just wanting to come and be at home at a place where it feels safe. They don't have to be firm with their emotions, where this is the place where they can let go and everything. So just 10 minutes once the child comes home, just be with the child. Don't ask them questions like, did you have your tiffin, what was your day like, has the teacher given you any homework? Don't ask anything at all. Just follow along with what the child is doing. Maybe the child is wanting to just come home and immediately start playing with the games, so you can just be there with the child. And if the child is wanting to involve you in that game, be more than happy to be a part of that. So now here how we can set even the boundaries. So before, now this example I gave, once the child comes home, is it okay that the child just walks in with the shoes and everything at home? No. So that is what boundaries will teach. So you need to teach the child beforehand that okay, the shoes and socks are to be removed at the shoe rack. So once you teach that, once the child comes home, you can just remind, okay, you can just remind that what are the good habits that we are following. So child will learn this step by step. Once or twice you just remind, and third time you will see that the child is doing it by themselves, because they are that much mature. They are able to understand what are the good habits and bad habits. But the way we tell them, that is what makes the difference. So setting boundaries is important, and building the connection also is very important, because connection over correction. So it's not necessary. Many times it happens that we are constantly correcting the child throughout the day, and because of that somewhere we lose the connection, and then it happens that the child completely stops listening to us. So we don't want that. So in order the child listens to us, we have to build the connection, and you can use this 10-10-10 rule. There are different methods again where you can just build this connection deeper. There are different ways for that as well. Yeah.
I can understand one simple thing, ma'am. Yes, of course, we can actually correct our kids by making connections with them, and the best way to have connections with them by having some kind of emotional kind of things with them. Of course, you told that we can, before going to bed, we can ask how was the day like, and there is a very fine scientific reasoning behind this, because whenever we are going to bed, if we are going to make a thought like before 5 minutes, like I want to be this, I want to achieve that, I want to have this kind of things in my life, that things will be automatically tuned to your subconscious mind, and that the subconscious mind will be connecting with a lot of things happening. It's a kind of magic. It will be happening, it will be making some kind of connections or the other. So ultimately it will be happening. So whenever you're going to bed, so if a parent is making the kids feel like they are like friends to them, yeah, if they are friends to them, and if they're able to open things to them, because if the parent is able to know what's happening for the entire day, then there is an emotional connection with them. So this kind of emotional connections automatically drains into the subconscious mind, and ultimately they will be becoming friends. So that's the best thing which we can practice to have some kind of secure attachment with our toddlers. That's a great thing, ma'am. So yes, tell me, ma'am. Nowadays parents are facing, not only nowadays parents, it was like early from the beginning. So parents will be facing a lot of challenges in sleeping and food habits with the toddlers. So tell advice, you can just suggest an advice by which parents can help the toddlers have healthy sleeping and developing healthy eating habits, ma'am.
So I always advise parents to look beyond just the behavior and try to understand the underlying needs. What is the child trying to say? So when the child is having a tantrum, it is not just because of a toy or something like that. It could also be because the child has not got enough sleep, or maybe the child is hungry and they're not able to say that they are hungry. So many times even these are the reasons why the child is crying, or the child is clingy and irritated. And in our day-to-day routine we forget to address these problems. So it is necessary for a toddler to have a good sleep for 10 to 12 hours, very much required. once they get this quality of sleep, it helps in their brain development. So it is necessary that as parents you keep predictable sleeping time, and there should be low stimulation before sleeping. So many times these days we see that the child is having a mobile in their hand, and they're just watching the cartoons, and maybe at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, somewhere they are sleeping. This is absolutely the wrong way, because when the child is watching the screen, there's so much of dopamine rush that is going on, happening into their body, and because of that they are more awake, and only when they are completely exhausted they are sleeping. But that is not how it should happen. So create a predictable sleeping routine, okay, and dim the lights so they know that okay, now it's time to go to bed. Or maybe some parents like to give evening baths, so maybe have a schedule like that. So after evening bath, once they are putting on their night dresses, you can just wind down slowly into story mode and then put them to sleep. So this is very important. And when it comes to eating, so inculcating eating habits is a process. When the child starts eating food for the first time, that time we are just giving them very pale food, maybe less salt, or there are no masalas into it. But as the child starts growing into a toddler, they start becoming choosy or picky eaters. And just sometimes it happens that parents just want to fill their stomach. So okay, मेरा बच्चा ये नहीं खा रहा है, the child is not eating the healthy food, maybe I'll give them the chips and maybe the stomach will be filled. And once they start getting into a habit of this, they're not going to stop eating, because you know how junk food is addictive. So it is the parents' responsibility to introduce the right food. So when you want to introduce a new food to the child, introduce it in small quantity with the existing safe food which the child already likes. So maybe the first time the child would reject that food, maybe the child might just taste it a bit, and maybe they might not like it. But second time again reintroduce that same food again. Maybe you can do some fancy things like different shapes of chapati or different shapes of the cutlet, something like that, which the child likes. With that, maybe the child will be attracted to the food and start eating. Also, you can, in the tiffin also, it has worked with me. When I want to introduce something new with my child, I normally give it into the tiffin, and he quietly eats the food. And once he comes home, I ask him, did he like it? So he has liked the food, whereas if it would have been in front of me, maybe he might have not eaten that food. This also happens because kids with mother, they behave very differently compared to kids when they are by themselves or with their father or with any other family member. So with mother, there are a lot of tantrums or nakras, which we call, and because of that, it becomes difficult for a mother to keep on introducing new food. So you can try these techniques, and don't pressurize the child to eat the entire plate. Respect the cues that the child is giving. Okay, my tummy is full. If the child is saying, I don't want to eat, respect it. I've seen parents force feeding the child. Because of that, what happens is they are building negative association with the food. And that in turn makes the child more to go away from eating the right food. That is what is happening.
I understand that doing this kind of force feeding will negatively impact the brains. It will be putting a lot of stress, and ultimately they'll be losing the connections with the parents, because they are essentially they are force feeding. Of course, they are giving good foods, but force feeding is not the right way. As we spoke in the before, like having a good relationship is to have a kind of gentle way of dealing with your kids. And also at the same time, we were speaking about the screen time of toddlers. You said that we have to dim the lights. It's not only for toddlers, I think it's also for the adults. Yeah, we should dim the lights, because only then our brain will be able to guess that okay, the dim light is switched off, so that light is going down, so we are going to sleep. I understand that, ma'am. And also tell us, ma'am, if there is any other kind of things. Of course, this is one of the method. If there is any other method or any other advice that you would like to tell the parents how to have a controlled screen time for toddlers, what would be it, ma'am?
So, excessive screen time has become the real problem universally. But the real problem is not watching the screen, the real problem is the amount of time the children spend watching the screen. So, it is very important to set the boundaries here. So, how do you set the boundaries? So, before you give your child the screen, maybe you're giving a tab or phone, you have to tell the child 20 minutes, and after that, you have to give me the phone back. Once you say this and give the phone to the child's brain is ready for it, ready to accept it. Many times what happens is parents suddenly, if the child is watching some cartoon, suddenly the parent says, okay, give me the phone now, it's time up, because suddenly parents realize, okay, it's excessive time that the child is watching. So with that sudden transition, the child is going to cry very naturally. I'll just give you an example. Imagine that you, as an adult, you are watching some serial or some series which is really intrigued and you are into it, watching it, and maybe somebody comes and just turns off the TV. Aren't you going to get angry? That is what is exactly happening with the child. So just because they are children, we try to suppress them, we try to tell them or shout at them, but that is not how it is should be. But that is not how it should be. You need to first hand set the boundaries. So before the completion of 20 minutes of time, again 10 minutes before that, just give a reminder, okay, 10 minutes are left, after that the screens will be off. So again the child is mentally prepared for it. So that transition is important, and after that you will really see that, okay, after 20 minutes the child is handing over the phone. I am telling this out of experience because I do it with my children, and this really helps, this really works. Another thing is, make sure that once the child has turned off the screen, it has to be replaced with something as equally interesting for them. If you just take off the screen and just let them be by themselves, it is again going to be difficult for them to channelize their brain and do something else. So maybe prepare already some other activity, maybe divert them to coloring, or maybe take them to a park where they can enjoy and still be occupied for that. And every day 30 to 40 minutes of outdoor play is mandatory. So have a routine where the child knows. So as we spoke earlier, predictable routine is required. So in that predictable routine, if you fix in 30 minutes 40 minutes of screen time, that's okay. And as an adult, as a parent, you need to be sure that, okay, I'm all right with my child watching screen for maybe 1 hour or half an hour. So once you are clear, don't keep nagging the child while the child is watching. So that again creates you are trying to lose that connection which you had with the child, and you come out as a nagging parent and not an leader. So we have to stop all these things. So there are many other different techniques which I guide parents on one-to-one basis when they come for counseling. So during that time, we try to see what are the exact reasons, what is happening behind the child's behavior, what are the problems, and basis that I guide them regarding their boundaries or screen time or meal time, sleeping time, and all these things are covered.
So it's very simple, ma'am. As you said, with a good example with adults, when they're watching something interesting, and if you're going to switch it off, it will be negatively impacting them with the emotions. In the same way, we can actually set, as we spoke in the beginning, we can set some boundaries, some limit time, so that the kids will automatically rewind it and they'll be arriving at the solution. Okay, now it's time to switch them. Even if we are not able to, if we forget and if we just put it on and we just left for the kitchen or something like that, the kids will be reminding us it's time. That's the kind of thing which we expect for the parents to do, to help them control the screen time for the toddlers, ma'am. And also, the next question is very simple, ma'am. Nowadays, parents let the kids out, let the toddlers out. So at this point of time, they always want them to be calm, because if the toddlers give tantrums or they're shouting at simple things, then it will create problems. So they always wanted the toddlers to be calm, and also at the same time, they always wanted them to be strong. So if the kid is calm and if it's not strong, then it's not able to help them. So how can we balance calm and strong? And tell us one advice, how can we emotionally kind of help our kids, our toddlers, to be calm and at the same time to be strong, ma'am?
So, being strong doesn't mean the child has to be aggressive. So, or being calm doesn't mean the child is suppressive. So, the balance is being, even if you're calm, you can be still strong. So, how do we uh, inculcate this in the children? So, involve your child in day-to-day chores. So, making them do things like maybe after their meal they are picking up their plate and putting it near the wash basin, or washing their hands by themselves, or putting on their clothes by themselves. Even as toddlers they are able to do these things once you guide them. So you involve children in the daily chores, and this will help them to boost their confidence, and you will start seeing that this will reflect in their overall behavior. So you were asking that what happens if you want them to be calm when you're going out. So there also, before stepping out of the house itself, you remind your child, okay, now today we are going maybe to the mall, so I want you all to behave good. So what does come into behave good? What do you expect in that? Be specific about that. So when we go to the mall, I don't want you all to run, I don't want you all to keep on shouting, you have to hold my hand, and we are going to take only one toy, nothing beyond that. Be clear with what you want from the child, and you will see that the child is listening to you when they go to the mall. And even if the child doesn't listen, if this is the first time you're trying this, repeat this every time, because it requires minimum 15 to 20 times repetition for the behavior to change, and you will start noticing these behavioral changes. And be firm with what you have said. If you're going to go there and change what you've said, then the child is not going to listen to you next time. So when the child knows the routine, they know what to expect, automatically you will see they are emotionally strong, they are more calm, and they are going to listen to you.
So ultimately, like being calm yourself will reflect with your kids. I do understand, ma'am. So also tell us, ma'am, each and every toddlers will be having different personalities. So being a kind of mentor, how do you actually help other parents, and how do you actually parent the toddlers having different kind of personalities? How do you actually have a different kind of tailoring way of advising each and every practice for different kids personalities, ma'am?
So like you rightly said that every child is different, but the setting boundaries or the routines and what you expect from the child can be same. So maybe the routine is okay, after you wake up there's brush, there's bath, there's breakfast, then going to the school. So this routine is same. So irrespective how your child is, certain guidelines are which are to be followed, they are to be followed, and depending on how the child is responding, reacting, we change certain methods child to child. So when any parent comes to me for one-to-one interaction, it is completely tailored, keeping in mind what the child is, how the child is behaving, and what is the home atmosphere. So keeping all these things in mind, I advise the parents.
So also tell us, ma'am, do you also conduct workshops for one-to-one kind of parent sessions?
Yes, I do one-to-one counseling for parents, and it's like 60 minutes counseling session which is there, and if required parents can reconnect with me. So I have also designed a course for parents where parents can go through the course at their pace, so that because there are many parents who are working, it's not possible to be coming for the consultation every time. So in that course there are details related to the screen time, meal time, or the behavioral changes that the child is going through, or if the child is very hyper active, how as a parent you can regulate the child. Then as parents as well, how you can manage your own emotions, how you can set boundaries, how you have to be as a parent. So the course inculcates a holistic approach which will help the parent as well, and as well as the child.
So also tell us, ma'am, what if a parent wants to connect with you? So in what ways they can connect with you for parenting guidance, ma'am?
So I am available on Instagram. So at the rate Nandita underscore Sarfare. So parents can DM me or connect me through my website. So it's nanditasarfare.com. Or they can also write an email to me at nandita.sarfare@gmail.com. So these are the ways where they can connect with me. And I also do conduct seminars and workshops at schools or even at corporates, because guiding mothers is my main aim. And I'm on a mission of guiding more than 1 lakh mothers to help themselves to regulate, so that a regulated mother is helping the child to be regulated.
Okay. People who are watching this interview, I'll mention her Instagram link in the YouTube description, so that if you want to have some kind of sessions with her regarding parenting things, you can just message her and you can just directly have a contact with her. So one last question for this interview is very simple, ma'am. Via this interview, if you want to tell any kind of message to the society, it may be to the kids, middle-aged persons or parents or any age group, what would be that one single message that you would like to tell to the people via this interview right now, ma'am?
So I have a message for parents that as adults, don't fight in front of kids because they are not able to process it. And please don't hit your children, because when we are hitting our kids, it's just that fraction of moment the action is done. But as an adult, when they are growing up, there are certain traumas that we are imposing on them. So avoid hitting your child and don't fight in front of kids. That's it. Thank you.
Wonderful message from you, ma'am. Of course, kids see us as a mirror. What we do will reflect them. And if we are going to fight in front of them, it will not only create traumas, but it will also make them pay the way of their life in this way, in this manner. Like if we are aggressive, they will also be aggressive. But if we are calm, they will be calm. If we are good, they will be good. If you are ultimately gentle, then they will be becoming a gentle person in the society. That's a great message to the society, ma'am. So people who are watching this interview right now, please do subscribe to our Women Today YouTube channel, and do click on the bell icon so that you can receive notifications whenever I do post new videos regarding women entrepreneurs across different cities in India and also across different countries in the world. So today's your host is Krishna, the founder of Women Today YouTube channel, and today's our guest is from Pune. Her name is Nandita Sarfare, ma'am. So she is the principal of Tiny Tots Preschool, and thank you once again, Nandita ma'am, for allowing me to host this wonderful interview. So thank you once again, ma'am. Good evening. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Krishnan, for conducting this interview in such a beautiful way. It was a pleasure being on this your show. Thank you so much.
So yeah, ma'am, that's a wrap.